Hello guys, it's Jayblade2000 again. This is the first time I have done a face reveal, and this is the face you see behind the camera. And I want to thank all of my 42 subscribers. And you guys really do mean a lot to me, even though I might not be able to film in a few months because I'm going to get to go to college. Again, growing up, not much fun, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to make money. And so I want to tell you guys my story, or as some people call it, my testimony. And yeah, I will get into kind of some, I don't want to say religious, but I will use God's name. He will be in here. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, if you don't believe in God, just click another video. So my story doesn't really begin with me. It kind of begins with my mother. Well, I guess kind of everyone's story does. But anyway, my mom wanted kids for 14 years and couldn't have any. Well, she had some, but they were all miscarriages. Then they had me, and I was very sickly due to complications. They had to put me in the ICU on oxygen for about 4 months, and I was 3 months early. But I turned out pretty okay. The only side effects of the oxygen seem to be that I have to wear these glasses and that I really like anime. That was sarcasm, by the way. And I do kind of want to apologize to Brian Davis and James Artville, but everything you will hear actually did happen and is actually real. Now, I want to kind of skip my early years and go right to when I was 14. Now, my mom and dad are Christian people, awesome people. They have not divorced, they're still together, going on really strong. I actually think this week is like their 44th anniversary. But I was raised as a non-denominational Christian in a good, loving home. Anyway, when I was about 14, I volunteered to help with a vacation Bible school. Now, if you don't know what a vacation Bible school is, it's basically a week-long program that you get to dress up as people from olden Bible times, put on a little drama for the kids, just some fun and some, and some education just for some kids, and it's really fun. But before the camp, we were having a meeting in the church library, and people in my family love to read. We have tons of books at our house. In fact, off camera, right to left, is my overflowing bookshelf. We have a library. It's just a mess, and I still am looking for great chapter books to read. But anyway, I found a book in the window that sparked my interest because it was in the church library, called Dragons in Our Midst, Raising Dragons. And I'm like, what? A dragon book in a church library? So after the meeting, I picked it up, and I found that this book is really good. And if you haven't known from my past videos, go read them. Anyway, so I became a fan of this series. And after I'd read the first book and returned it to the church library, I was looking at my public library, as one of our family traditions was every Tuesday we would go to the public library and pick out some books. So I'm in the young adult section, and I've just finished the first book in that series. Not a week after, I find the Candlestone in that library. That's the only book they have, is the Candlestone. Not 1, 3, or 4 in the series, just the Candlestone. And I go, wow, thank you, God. You knew exactly what I needed. Little did I know how ironic those words would be. You see, in this book, if you hadn't read it, the main heroine, Bonnie Silver, you can see her on the cover here, tells the main hero, Billy Bannister, that she loves him. I believe it's In a Mirror Darkly, I believe the chapter is. And in her journal, she confesses to God that she loves him. And when I read that phrase, something in me broke. I don't know how to describe it, but I wanted that. I wanted a girl to tell me that I was loved. For the first time in my life, that had happened. I couldn't get past that part of the book for weeks. And I still don't know what happened to this day. But I do know it was very painful, because I'm not sure what part of my brain and what triggered from that. But through those words, the Lord gave me a promise that someday a girl would tell me she would love me. And I heard his voice very clearly, but it did hurt. Now, you see everywhere on Pinterest and Tumblr and stuff, those people talking about, oh, you have crushes on fictional characters, you fall in love with fictional characters. I did that with Bonnie Silver. But it was different. It really hurt. I don't know what happened, but it really hurt. And over the years, I began to feel more lonely. I began to get on the internet when no one was home and look up some of that stuff that people get into, porn and stuff. And I felt just sad. I became depressed. And for years, it plagued me. This love for this fictional character that was so strong plagued me. And I did make some bad decisions. Asking one or two girls to be in a relationship when I didn't hear the Lord. It was just me. So years go by. And it turns out we find this school called the Texas Bible Institute. And so I was going to go for an 8-year program. Well, there are 4-month programs. There are 2 4-month programs smashed together end to end, making 8 months. And so I was going to go to one of those programs. That's when the Lord started to change my life. But before He changed it, I just straight up denied Him. It had been painful for years. Suicidal thoughts started coming in. I was at rock bottom. I would open my Bible every day and read it about the Lord's love, and I couldn't believe it. If the Lord was so good, why did this happen? And that's what a lot of people say. And I began to say it. In the night, I began to pray for death, just to be one with the Father instead of Bonnie or this wife or whatever was promised to me. I became so disillusioned that a few roommates at TBI, they invited me to a frat party, and I went. I went and I denounced God. The whole 3-hour drive to Houston, I just crossed my arms and sat and looked out the window, just thinking how mad I was at God. And we went to this party. It was where I took my first shot, so I was very lightheaded and drinking, dancing, disco lights. And this was on Halloween, October 31st, Halloween 2015. And, you know, the girls had the, you know, slutty costumes. Some were just, you know, kind of costumes. You know what I mean. You've seen them. And there was one girl who definitely was drunk. She had a bottle in her hand and everything. And she was dressed in an angel costume. And she went up, and I was dancing in the middle of the dance floor, and she came up, and we were dancing, and all this stuff, and it kind of hit it off. But the pulse of the music was so loud, I didn't get to hear her name. I actually got her phone number, and this name is just like so weird. It's like an EI5 whatever, and I haven't figured out how to delete it, so it's still there. But and so we danced. I was planning to forget everything. I, in fact, brushed away everything my parents ever taught me, and was going to go all the way with this one girl that was dancing with me and really seemed to like me. But it turns out she had to leave, and so did me and my friends. And so we got back in the car. We slept in the Walmart parking lot, and it was Sunday the next day, and we were going to this guy's church, so he just kind of like threw on these Sunday clothes and went to church after that romp that Saturday night on Halloween. But I learned later, when one of my roommates came back and told me, that that girl fully intended to come back to that house and sleep with me. If we had not left then, I wouldn't be a virgin now, or I'd have a child. And so, even at my lowest point, God was protecting me. So, after all that happened, the teacher, actually the director of TBI, was speaking in this class, Mrs. Birchfield, Rachel Birchfield. And she was talking about laying down pain on the Lord's altar. And a thought hit me. Alright, it's time to lay your love for Bonnie down. And I'm like, what? Okay. So, there was a person there named Ryan Circles, and he was very understanding. And I asked, can I talk to you? I brought a copy of the Candlestone with me, and I just went in the office and told him the whole thing. And he was like, you know, buddy, this sounds... He was very understanding. And with me, I thought I was this weird guy that's just like, people wouldn't understand my situation. People wouldn't understand what that was like. And Ryan Circles and another director helped me through that. And right before Thanksgiving break, they were actually having some devotional time. I got free of that love and have been free ever since, even though, you know, I got the graphic novel. I look at these. I haven't really read these since then, but I still kind of have them. And I'm still a fan of Dragons in Our Midst series. It's just such a cool concept. Probably shouldn't after all that happened, but anyway. And then I got to get up and I got to tell my testimony that I got free of Bonnie to a women's retreat that we were having. And it was probably one of the best times of my life. I am not gonna lie. After 4 years of constant pain, this was amazing. And there's one cool thing about the testimony, but I'm gonna leave that for after. And during this semester, the second semester, there were people that kept saying this girl's name. Like, I remember, I was having a conversation with one guy, and he's like, yeah, you know, Emily's really cool. You and Emily should get together. I'm like, nah, dude. And then I was having lunch at Jack in the Box with some other people, and they were like, yeah, man, Emily's really nice. What about you and her? I'm like, nah, bro. And then this guy and I were washing dishes at a different retreat because they assign you jobs every retreat. And this guy's like, yeah, Emily's really nice. You should totally get with her. I'm like, okay, this is 3 people. So then I'm on Pinterest. I'm looking around. The name I see everywhere on Pinterest. I'm like, oh, cool pin. Click. Who's it by? Emily, whatever. I see it in pins everywhere on Pinterest. I'm like, the heck? Okay, God, I've misheard you before. What are you saying? And I throw down what's called a fleece, like Gideon did, when he threw down a fleece and he said, all right, let the ground around it be wet, and the fleece dry, and then the fleece wet and the ground dry. I said, okay, or I asked God, I think I know what you're saying with Emily. If this is right, let me spend some time with her tomorrow, and let's spot open up in this group of friends, because that day, the next day, they were going to the Houston Zoo to celebrate this guy's birthday. And so it looked like I wasn't going to get to go. And then the spot opens 5 minutes before everyone leaves, or right as everyone's leaving. So I grab my backpack, grab my shoes, run out the door, go to the car. Emily's in the car. That spot opens. I'm like, okay, that's freaky. We get to the zoo. We split up in groups of 5. Emily's in that group of 5. Whoa, okay. Then I see her go off and look at an animal. It's like, it's the Houston Zoo, you know? I mean, if she was a guy, I would have gone over there, because no one should be alone. It's the Houston Zoo. You can get lost and stuff in the zoo. And so I go over to her. We turn around. The other 3 guys are gone. So it's just me and Emily for an hour looking at the map at the zoo, trying to figure out what animals to see and trying to find our other friends. And so it's like, whoa, dude. And so we get to know each other. We get to start chatting on Facebook. We get to sit together before breakfast and just talk. We get to know each other. And then the Lord's like, alright, buddy, ask her. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, God, if this is you, alright. If it's not, I don't want it. And so I ask her, and she says, yeah, I'll pray about it. Which was the exact words another girl said to me when I asked her, and the answer was no. And so, on April 12th, I kind of said, hey, you said you'd get back to me, what is it? And she says, the answer is yes. And I've now been with my girlfriend, Emily, for about 2 months. And the thing about the testimony is, she was an usher there. I could not have told her all my testimony one-on-one. But because she was an usher and she saw all that, she knows my testimony. And, you know, the oneness with the Spirit, the hunger for God that I saw in Bonnie Silver, that it made me start to crush on Bonnie Silver. I see the exact same thing in Emily. And so that's what the Lord has done in my life. He's brought me out of the darkest pain to the brightest light. And so a lot of you may not believe this testimony. A lot of you may not believe in God. But this is what He's done. This is real in my life. And I wanted to share that with you guys, just to give you some hope that God is for you. He's not against you. And there's always a silver lining. It is going to get really bad before it gets better. But the thing is, like a lot of anime say, you can't give up. So I hope this has inspired some of you guys. I wanted to do a face reveal and stuff before I go off to college. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. You guys are awesome.